Did someone try to take you from mommy?
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I got him back, and then he just stared at me, and then goes, oh, I just wanted to get him out of your lap so you could get up and help me. Which was weird. That didn't make any sense.
So it turns out that this mother lied about everything. She claimed this man tried to kidnap her 2-year-old son at Walmart. He was arrested and put in jail. So
what's up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. How you guys doing? If you guys are brand new here to the channel, you guys don't know what we do, don't worry. I'm gonna break it down for you guys, man. We talk about the most scary and creepiest videos on the net, on the web, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos, IG Reels, Facebook, anything weird, unusual, unexplained, you can find right here on this channel. I just want to thank all my supporters, man, who's coming back to the channel, watching the videos entirely, man. Commented down below. I greatly appreciate the support. Found this video for you guys today, man. Let's do what we do best, seekers. Say it with me, y'all. Let's seek the truth.
Let's talk about light years, because this shit blows my mind. In simple terms, a light year is the distance light travels in 1 year. But let me show you some examples of why I think the whole concept of light years is insane. Recently, the Hubble telescope captured a supernova exploding in a distant galaxy that's 70 million light years away. So this means that this explosion happened 70 million years ago and we are just now seeing it. Let me give you another example. If you were on a planet that was 65 million light years away from Earth, and somehow had a big enough telescope pointed directly at Earth, through that telescope you would theoretically see dinosaurs roaming the Earth because dinosaurs were around 65 million years ago. If your mind isn't blown enough already, listen to this. Light takes 8 minutes and 20 seconds to travel from the sun to the Earth. That means that if for some reason the sun just disappeared, we wouldn't even know until 8 minutes and 20 seconds later.
Scary to think about, man.
Strange facts that will blow your mind. Apples in the supermarket can be up to 1 year old. An octopus has 3 hearts. A cloud can weigh over 1 million pounds. Sneezes travel at about 100 miles.
This 18-year-old planned the murder of a woman he just met on Tinder. On May 12, 2022, 18-year-old Cain Fairbank met with a woman at Mueller Park in Bountiful, Utah, after meeting a few days earlier on Tinder. Cain and the woman were there for several hours, but just before 6:30 p.m., he lured her into his car and he stabbed her multiple times to her face, neck, and hands. The victim fought back and was able to break away and flag down a nearby witness. But Cain wasn't done there. He drove off to a gas station, parked his car, and abandoned his vehicle, and then he saw a 64-year-old woman walking on the street and began to stab her as well. She fought back and Cain fled again, but he was later caught by a Good Samaritan and was held down until police arrived. He told police that he invited the first victim to the park with the intent of luring her into his car and killing her. Cain later admitted that he was planning to continue to kill people after he was finished with his first victim. He even talked about his plan to killing his family with a pickaxe. Cain was charged with 2 counts of attempted murder, 2 counts of obstruction of justice, and a count of aggravated kidnapping. So after hearing about this case, you guys let me know if you're still going to be using dating apps.
No, thank you. I'm good off that.
Men who have bigger noses have been also found to have longer penises, a recent study suggests. The study looked at the corpses of 126 men within 3 days of death and measured a range of body parts. The length of the men's noses correlated to the size of the penis. And although there was a correlation between nose and penis size, they did not find a reason as to why this might be. So the question is, how big is your nose?
That's a very weird fact.
Here are 7 mind-boggling facts I can guarantee you didn't know. And if you did, I'll give you a cookie. First up, Facebook's like button was going to be called the awesome button. Because the Statue of Liberty is made of copper, and it was first constructed, it used to be the color of a coin. Basically this. However, due to oxidation in 1920, it turned completely green and stayed it. The Eiffel Tower was originally intended to be in Barcelona. However, because the people of Barcelona didn't like the project idea, they moved it to France. I know I've said it before, but just because I love this fact so much, all blue-eyed people are related, sharing one common ancestor known as the founder. Up next, you know the stickers that are placed on fruits? Well, it turns out these stickers are actually edible. Cool. Why? The United Kingdom has more tornadoes per area than any other country in the world. Cool fact, but since when? And this last one might hurt your brain. 1 glass of water has more atoms in it than there are glasses of water in all of the oceans of the earth. My brain.
has to be Cap, right? Last pack has to be. More atoms in a glass of water than there is in the whole entire ocean? Yeah. We're going to have to do our research on that one.
The actor who played Jonathan Redcorn on King of the Hill and Ken Hotate on Parks and Rec was just murdered in a crime. This is Jonathan Joss. He was a well-known actor in Hollywood, and I definitely remember him from all the incredible roles that he had over the years. I especially remember him on the show Parks and Rec. He was incredibly funny when he was on that show. So according to Jonathan's husband Tristan Gonzalez, the two of them had been harassed and discriminated against for years in their San Antonio neighborhood. And according to Jonathan's husband, somebody actually burned their house down after 2 years of repeated threats and harassment, which is disturbing enough to me. But even more disturbing is the fact that on Sunday of last weekend, when Tristan and Jonathan went back to the site of their former home, which had been burned to the ground, they discovered the skull of one of their dogs who had been missing and the dog's harness placed in clear view in front of the home. And according to Tristan, the two of them then began to cry out in pain and distress. That's when they were allegedly approached by this man, named Sigfrido Alvarez Sija, who, according to Tristan, then began shouting before suddenly raising a gun and opening fire. Unfortunately, Jonathan would suffer multiple gunshot wounds and die at the scene, and sadly, it was reported that he recently attended a King of the Hill panel in Austin, Texas, but as a member of the audience, and he had publicly expressed how he felt disappointed that he was left out of the public panel. They hadn't invited him to join them on stage. This was just last Friday, too. This is a horrible situation. The San Antonio Police Department is denying that this was some sort of a hate crime, but as soon as we know more about this case, I will be sure to provide you guys with updates.
There's some maps that are going to change the way you see the world. All 38 states in blue on this map have a smaller population than all of Long Island, which you can see there really small is the red. This map proves that Greenland extends farther north, east, south, and west than Iceland. This map reveals the air traffic that was over Paris during the 2024 Olympics, which was non-existent. This map shows how distorted the Mercator projection really is by giving us a 5,000 kilometer radius around Paris. Obviously, it doesn't look certain. The line through Africa is longer than the line through Russia. This map shows the access that all of Africa has to electricity, with some places in the darkest green being 99%, basically everybody, and then some places in the lightest green being as low as 1%. Apparently, you can drive almost 150 hours through all of Russia and still be in Russia. This pinpoint in China is the furthest possible point on land away from any ocean.
Jeffrey Dahmer targeted this 14-year-old boy. The police found him naked, bleeding from his rectum and everything, and Jeffrey Dahmer convinced the police to return him. He told the police that was his boyfriend. They had an argument. Police returned him to Dahmer, and then he got mutilated that night and killed. His name was Konrad Simpthasaphone. And like I said, he was found naked, drugged, and bleeding from his rectum on a street corner, and police returned him to Jeffrey Dahmer. Like, dude, if you're seeing blood on somebody, maybe investigate, ask some more questions. His death was also absolutely horrific. He had a hole drilled into his head, and then Jeffrey Dahmer poured acid inside of it to try to recreate a real-life zombie out of him. He was trying to melt the kid's brains out. I think if the kid acted out and got arrested by police, he would have had a better chance to live. This is just so crazy that you would see the kid in this condition and decide to return him to, like, the person that's claiming to be his boyfriend. Hell, even if it was his boyfriend, right? Just look at the situation he's in, dude. Just investigate more. There's obviously some sort of abuse going on here. But it is sickening how much Jeffrey Dahmer actually got away with. This is just one of his many sick and twisted ways that he killed people. Let me know your thoughts in the comments.
That was just madness, man. Like he said, could have checked up on him.
Did someone try to take you from mommy? Yeah. And I'm like, no, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I got it back, and then he just stared at me, and then goes, oh, I just wanted to get him out of your lap so you could get up and help me. Which was weird. That didn't make any sense.
So it turns out that this mother lied about everything. She claimed this man tried to kidnap her 2-year-old son at Walmart. He was arrested and put in jail. So basically on March 18th, Mahendra Patel went to Walmart to get some Tylenol. He couldn't find the aisle, so he approached this woman named Caroline Miller and asked for help. But after their interaction, she called police and claimed that he tried to kidnap her 2-year-old son and then he fled. The surveillance footage shows zero proof of that, but yet 3 days later, police went to his house and arrested arrested him. Mahendra was charged with attempted kidnapping, assault, battery, and was held without bond. When the surveillance footage was released to the public, everyone was really upset that this innocent man was put in jail for something he clearly didn't do. He was finally granted a $10,000 bond and was released after 49 days. This woman, I don't know what her intentions were or what the point of this really was, but she has not been charged at the moment, but I really hope that she has some serious consequences, because to try to ruin someone's life for absolutely no reason is crazy. Also, why wasn't the surveillance footage reviewed before arresting this man?
Preach.
I felt like,
bro, how could the evidence was literally in 4K and he still had to pay $10,000 to get out of jail? That literally makes no sense. She was the one who was capping, lying. So why does he have to pay the price?
I did all this work for nothing.
Kira is a victim of child sex abuse. She's waived her anonymity to speak to the BBC. She says in 2015, when she was just 9, Lancashire police lost her video evidence.
It was hard because I sat there for hours and hours telling people what had happened to me, and for that to be lost, I just thought, like, what's the point in doing it again? Because they did want me to do it again, but I just couldn't go through with it at that time.
It meant her case was delayed for 9 years until she was ready to give evidence again. Her perpetrators were jailed last year. Lancashire police have apologised and say better processes are now in place. But data obtained by the BBC shows that over 4 years, more than 30,000 prosecutions have collapsed because of missing evidence, things like DNA and interviews. This includes 70 homicides and 554 sexual offences. Police chiefs say the new figures refer to evidence missing or unavailable when a defendant is going on trial following being charged. For example, police may not be able to find an expert witness, or a required medical statement cannot be obtained. It says when there are issues, the CPS will raise this with police for any action deemed necessary, and we will work together to ensure these are resolved if possible.
That's crazy, man. They miss doing that to that.
Vermont is incredibly disturbing. So this is the MAP camp, or Minor Attracted Persons Camp, which is the name used to escape the stigma. So last year somebody in Vermont discovered this event page online, and what they found was absolutely disturbing. Apparently this camp for September 19th through September 22nd of 2024, and they wouldn't reveal where they were camping. But this was a huge group of pedophiles camping alone in the woods, and some people said that this was happening in near proximity to a school. So on their website they listed potential risks. They're talking about normal camping risks here, but then they said exposure to, and also common risks with hiking and other outdoor activities. This is from their actual website. Blisters, getting lost, insect bites and stings, heat exhaustion, falling, tripping because you were distracted by a sexy minor instead of watching where you were going. No sexy children around to look at, a common problem when hiking. So obviously nobody would want this event near their hometown, especially near a school, and this turned into an entire storm in this small town in Vermont. They held community meetings with leaders from their town. Campgrounds denied that they allowed these people to camp out there, but according to this group, or from what we could find online, it did happen, and it might happen again next year. And this just goes to show that the normalization of this stuff is never okay. In my opinion, especially the ones that actually harm kids. If you want to hear me rant more about stuff like this, listen to my podcast, The Conspiracy Files, which is available on all streaming platforms, or you can watch the video version of my show on YouTube. And I cover...
Did you guys know that Britney Drexler's body has been found after 13 years? On April 25th, 2009, 17-year-old Britney Drexel went missing while visiting Myrtle Beach for spring break with some friends. Britney lived in New York, and her mother didn't give her permission to travel to Myrtle Beach because she feared something would happen to her. But Britney went anyway. Later that day, on the 25th, Britney walked to her friend's hotel that was a few miles away, but as she made her way back, she suddenly disappeared. The last message that she sent to her boyfriend John, who was in New York, was at 8:58 p.m. and when she stopped responding, he contacted Britney's mother. 62-year-old sex offender Raymond Moody became a person of interest, but he was never charged until now. It wasn't until recently that detectives developed information they needed to make an arrest, and that's when he finally confessed and led investigators to the woods where he buried Britney. 13 years later, on May 11th, 2022, Britney's remains were found in a wooded area in Georgetown, South Carolina. Raymond kidnapped, sexually assaulted, and murdered Britney the same day she went missing. He is now eligible for the death sentence, and he was charged with murder, kidnapping, and criminal sexual misconduct.
That's just sad, man. The mom knew, she like felt it. And then so... Where is he walking to? It got pitch black out of nowhere. I'm out.
This journalist was essayed by over 200 men right after the camera battery died.
Been waiting for. They came here day after day. This is about freedom. Stop!
Laura Logan was a well-known journalist for CBS News. On February 11th of 2011, Laura and her CBS crew were in Egypt because at the time the president Hosni Mubarak was resigning. Laura was covering the celebrations in Tahrir Square because a lot of people were celebrating, chanting, and just happy that they had their freedom. As Laura and her crew were filming it all, suddenly the camera battery died, and that's when things started to change. Men started to gather around Laura, and suddenly she was separated from her CBS crew. Next thing she knows, she's being surrounded by 200 to 300 men and is being essayed by flagpoles and sticks for 25 minutes. They tore off her clothes and started to take photos with their cell phones. Laura's body was being pulled in different directions, and when they were pulling her hair, it was coming out in chunks. She was dragged towards a fence where a group of women were camping. They saw her and were able to pull her out and save her. A group of soldiers saw what was going on, so they started hitting the men with their batons, and luckily Laura survived. Once Laura arrived back to the United States, she was kept in the hospital for 4 days. Since they didn't know the identity of these men because there were so many of them, they weren't able to prosecute any of them. Despite how traumatic this was for Laura, she decided to come forward with her story so that maybe it could help other victims in the same situation. Although the memory will never disappear, she says she is proud for breaking the silence of what some female journalists experienced but never told.
She fell in love with her daughter and married her. This is Stephanie from Oklahoma, and I wasn't even looking for this story. I was researching something else, and I came across this, and I was like, clicking that link. So Stephanie lost custody of her kids when they were younger, and their paternal grandmother took over. Later, she got back into her kids' life, and then she says her and her daughter just hit it off. And this was after she married her son in 2008 and then got it annulled in 2010. She said that wasn't a actual, with an S, relationship. She just married him to get him out of the military. Don't understand how this works, but that's what she said. Now this son right here says he tried that mess with her, but he wasn't going for it. He denied her advances. DHS got involved. She was 44 here and she was 26, so I don't understand how this worked with the DHS. I don't know if there was a child in the home or what, but DHS got involved and they were charged with sex. They're now divorced. Well, the marriage has been annulled. Oh, and the mother said she feel like she didn't do nothing wrong because her name wasn't on her.
On the evening of September 17th, 2021, a 42-year-old preacher named Jason Thornburg was cleaning up his motel room in Texas. Jason was going to be hosting a small Bible study group in his motel room. Normally, Jason would host these Bible study groups at his house, but unfortunately, Jason's house burned down and he lost everything. And right as he was about to start placing these Bibles on each chair, he heard a knock at the door. And standing outside the door was David Rarest. However, David told Jason that the reason he was here was actually not for the Bible study group. He was here because he was in the middle of a crisis. He confessed to Jason that he had begun using drugs, and now his concern was those dangerous people were coming to get him. Jason decided, okay, you know what, maybe I'll just begin the Bible study with David. And when he began to notice it was getting dark outside, he sort of began wrapping it up. David looked at Jason and begged him to please let him stay overnight. Jason said, okay, you can stay. They said goodnight, they each climbed into their beds and fell asleep. For the next 5 days, Jason's motel room remained mostly closed, and the only thing anybody heard coming from his room was gospel music, and it was being played at a very high volume. And so over the course of these 5 days, the music kept on blasting. The only other thing of note that happened in this period of time was that these 2 other people entered Jason's motel room and didn't leave either. And then on the 5th day, the morning of September 22nd, a single person walked out of Jason's motel room, and they were wearing a full-body hazmat suit and carrying some sort of luggage. 45 minutes later, about 25 miles away from that motel, the Fort Worth Fire Department got a call about this raging dumpster fire. What they saw caused them all to back up and call the police. It would turn out, shortly after he and Jason wrapped up that Bible study that night, David did fall asleep pretty quickly, but Jason didn't. Jason waited until David was asleep, and then Jason got a knife and then slit David's throat. Then he cut David's heart out and ate it, because Jason the preacher really actually believed that human sacrifice was the best and purest way to serve God. And over those 5 days, he would basically lure those 2 women into his room, but they too would be sacrificed. And then on the 5th day, the person who exited the motel room was Jason. And that luggage he was carrying with him contained the body parts of the 3 people he had just killed. He brought those body parts to that dumpster and lit them on fire. Jason was arrested. He confessed that David and the 2 women were not actually his first victims. He said that just a few years earlier, he had sacrificed his girlfriend, and that house fire that destroyed all of his belongings and prompted him to go live in this motel was set by Jason himself, because he had sacrificed his roommate and needed to get rid of the evidence. Jason was found guilty of capital murder and sentenced to death. He is currently on death row in Texas.
That is crazy. He did that to all his victims. Pure madness, man.
Her mom sold her to be used for a ritual. 6-year-old Joshyn Smith was from South Africa and was always known to have a beautiful smile on her face. On February 19th of 2024, Joshyn was not feeling well, and instead of her mom Kelly staying home to take care of her, she left her alone with her boyfriend Jacqueline. By the time Kelly arrived home, Joshyn was missing. Now Kelly didn't seem worried at all. She continued with her day as normal and even went on a trip a couple days later. Neighbors in the area were worried and searching for Joshyn, while Kelly, on the other hand, was completely chill and didn't have a care in the world. People in the local community started talking and found out that Kelly sold Joshyn. She had sold her to a traditional healer in South Africa known as a Sangoma, and they wanted her for her eyes and skin. Joshyn's body parts would be used in rituals in return for money. A local pastor had testified that he had once heard Kelly talking about selling Joshyn for $1,100, but would go down to $275 if she needed to. Kelly, her boyfriend Jacqueline, and a friend named Savino were all arrested in connection to Joshyn's disappearance. In May of 2025, the 3 were all found guilty, and even though there was no evidence, the testimonies is what did it, and the 3 were sentenced to life in prison. When they got their sentence, Kelly was shedding some tears, and their friend Savino was smiling and had no remorse whatsoever. To this day, Joshyn's body has not been recovered.
So in April of this year, a cell phone was seized from a criminal here in Houston, Texas, as a part of Operation Restore Justice. And when authorities looked through that cell phone, they found absolutely disturbing images and videos. Eventually, they were able to track down that the man that appeared in those child pornography videos was Jeremy Plotsky. He was seen in the videos graping an infant. Yes, you heard that correctly, as hard as that is to stomach, an infant, a baby, while he was wearing his state trooper and army reservist uniforms. So you not only had this guy actually doing this while at the same time being a state trooper and army reservist, but he was actually wearing those outfits while he was committing these horrific acts against this baby. And keep in mind, filming this all and sharing it. As of right now, Jeremy's been indicted on 4 different counts. And according to the affidavits, he produced 4 or 5 different videos of him assaulting children. Mainly the infant baby that I was talking about. Now, obviously, this should be life in prison. And in Idaho now, it could be a death sentence. But the minimum is 15 years. And knowing the American justice system, he'll probably only get that. Maybe 15 to 20. Which is obviously incredibly fucked up, and they should be working on changing those laws. They've talked about it so many times, but nothing ever happens. People always want to talk about how they want to protect children, but they don't actually want to pass legislation or change anything about protecting kids. So many of these politicians are all bark, no bite, and they don't actually try to affect any sort of change. If you want to hear me rant about this sort of stuff, though, listen to my podcast, The Conspiracy Files, which is available on all streaming platforms, where I'm exposing rings of predators just like this guy every single week. Or you can watch the show on YouTube. My channel is The Conspiracy Files.
I don't know if you guys have heard about this TikToker who created content preaching about healthy relationships and teaching men how to be better partners. And he portrayed himself as being this caring and respectful man. Well, he recently murdered his ex-girlfriend. The crazy part about this story is that I actually know of a woman who was supposed to fly out from Toronto to Miami to meet this man sometime before he took his ex-girlfriend's life. Thank God she didn't go. This guy's name is Joy Shandra Nath. He's 29 years old, and this happened in Miami. And he stabbed his ex-girlfriend. She was 24 years old, and her name was Maria Camila Garcia Molina, in her car, and apparently her 3-year-old daughter was in the car and saw everything. Her daughter was found wandering alone on the street, and she was covered in her mother's blood, and they later found Maria's body in her car with stab wounds all over. Police arrested this man after Maria's daughter told them that her mother was with Joy and then she fell asleep. Investigators said that Maria had a restraining order against this man when he began stalking her after she ended things in November 2024. Before her death, Maria found an AirTag in her car and she caught this man hiding near her house several times. When they arrested him, he had scratches all over his face, and he also had Maria's phone and purse on him, but he said that she had gave it to him that morning. Like I said, I know of someone who met this man on a dating app on Facebook. I guess it's like Facebook dating. And she was supposed to fly out from Toronto to Miami to go meet him, but she completely cut him off before this thing happened, after another girl reached out to her to tell her that he was also talking to her at the same time. And apparently he was talking to so many women at the same time. He was charged with second-degree murder, and he's in the Miami-Dade County Jail, and he has no bond. I think it's very common for people to meet on dating apps nowadays. I mean, I've done it, but it's very important to always be aware and know that there are risks, because you don't know who this person is at the end of the day. People are so unhinged nowadays, and someone can put up this whole facade about themselves on social media or a dating app, and you wouldn't even know it. And this is my own personal opinion, but I would never fly out to go meet anyone. I think the risks are a lot higher. You're going to a different country to see someone that you've never seen before.
People who are 1 in a million. Part 2. This is Gary Turner, but he's better known as the Elastic Man. He has a medical condition that causes his skin to be so stretchy that he can stretch the skin from his neck over his mouth. Next is Nanya Su, who's a boy with perfect night vision. His parents both have brown eyes, but he has blue eyes that glow when a light is shined. He claims that it's hard to see during the day, but while everyone sees this at night, this is what he sees. This is Paul Carrison, the real-life Papa Smurf. To fix his skin condition, he would drink silver and rub it on his skin every day, causing him to turn irreversibly blue. Finally, this man came into the hospital with severe chest pain, and doctors were shocked when they discovered he had 2 hearts, and he had suffered a double heart attack.
Whoa. Pattern.
This truck driver took the life of 5 people because he was distracted on TikTok. The morning of January 12, 2023, 36-year-old Danny Tyner was driving on Interstate 10 in Arizona when he drove his tractor trailer in to stop the traffic. This scene is so difficult to look at, but basically his truck sandwiched 2 other cars with another big truck at the front. These are the 5 victims that lost their lives on that day, and when Danny was asked what happened, he said that he looked down for a couple of seconds because he got a notification on his work tablet, and when he looked back up, there was not enough time to brake. But that wasn't true. When his phone was analyzed, it showed that he was actively using TikTok when the crash happened. Now, what I found disturbing was that during his interaction with police, he didn't seem too fazed. He was eventually charged with manslaughter and was sentenced to 4.5 years in prison for each count of negligent homicide, which totaled to 22.5 years.
This is the
Man, I'm telling you guys, when you out driving, man, just do not be informed, man. Like I said, social media is a distraction, man. That's basically what it was made for. So why would you even attempt to even like look at it while you're driving, bro? That's just doesn't make sense to me. Look at the result of what happened, man. Multiple senses, man, because you just wanted to scroll on TikTok, man. TikTok cannot be, well, we know it's that addicting, man, where you just want to keep scrolling and scrolling, but you drive and you don't have that luxury.
Tragic story of the Boy Scout who made his entire neighborhood radioactive. Nicknamed the Nuclear Boy Scout, David Hahn was a teenager from Michigan who was obsessed with nuclear radiation. When he was only 15, David attempted to build a nuclear reactor in his backyard shed, using radioactive material from household items including vintage clocks, smoke detectors, and gun sights. Within 2 years, David had built a functioning reactor which gave off enough radiation to be detected throughout his entire neighborhood.
Damn.
David was soon caught by police when they found hazardous materials in his car during a routine stop and thought he was building an atomic bomb. When David's shed was raided by the EPA, they determined that his project had created dangerous levels of radiation, leading them to dismantle the building and classify it as hazardous waste. This mugshot from 2006 shows David covered in sores as a result of his extensive exposure to radiation. This, combined with continuous legal and mental health issues, led to David's early passing at the age of 39 from an accidental overdose.
Wanted to become like
Genetic
Adam Man or something.
Superpowers Part 2. The Super Coffee Drinker, BDNF. Carriers of this gene remain completely unaffected to the effects of caffeine from coffee, and can often easily get a night's sleep after drinking a cup. The perfect memory gene, HSAM. If you are lucky enough to be born with this gene, you will have almost a perfect memory. However, it's extremely rare with only 25 confirmed cases. The Super Sprinter gene, ACTN3. People with these genes are able to run extra fast, as these genetics give your muscles a higher flexing rate, which gives them more explosive power.
Speed
the
got
alcohol
that.
immunity gene, ALDH2. Having this super rare gene will mean you will never be able to experience being drunk with your friends, and you might have a lot of explaining to do, as it gives you total immunity from the effects of being drunk.
Imagine if everybody had that, the world would be a safer place, man. Everybody's immune to alcohol. Whew. And the speed definitely got the freaking sprinter gene, bro. I know what I'm talking about. He's too fast. That's the only explanation.
This is how rare your body is compared to the rest of the world. Only 10% of people have something called Darwin's tubercle. It's this little bump on the outside of your ear. And it's said that people who have this are better at sensing voice tonality. 10% of people also have what's called Morton's toe. This is where your big toe is shorter than the toe next to it. Only 26% of people have a narrator inside their head. Most people don't hear a voice when they think. What's even more rare is only 5% of people have their tongues tied to their mouth. I thought everyone had this. Everyone flares their nostrils subconsciously, but only 30% of people can do it on command. Less than 1% of people have unbreakable bones, making you basically superhuman. Only about 35% of people can gleek, and only 1% can do it on command. And gleeking is when you squirt saliva from underneath your tongue.
Any secretary, can you guys gleek, bro? I've seen that before. I've always wanted to know what that was, man. I finally got an answer. It's called gleeking, bro. Shoot saliva through your tongue. That's a very, I guess, rare skill set. You got any gleekers, man, in the comments? Oh, that's insane, bro.
This incident has made people on the internet so upset because this woman went up to a teen and pulled down her skirt because she thought it was too short. Even if you think this skirt is too short, I think we can all agree that you cannot go up to a child and touch them. The teen said that this woman approached her from behind and basically put her hand in her area. This woman, who is a 49-year-old Ida Lorenzo, said to the girl and her friends, "I happen to work for the state, and if I have to see your cheeks hanging out again, I will call CPS.
I happen to work for the state, and if I have to watch your cheeks hanging out again, I will call CPS.
Now, let's be real for a second. If this was a man who did this to a young girl, police would be called immediately and there would be no excuses. They were waiting at a restaurant to be seated and she basically felt like it was inappropriate for this young girl to be dressed like this in front of everyone. Which, if you feel that way, then you can leave. You should never be putting your hands on anyone. She was eventually charged with sexual battery, which I'm glad, because you can't be putting your hands on anyone, especially kids.
People who are 1 in a million.
Explained it
This girl's
perfectly.
name is Zhang Rufeng, and she is over 100 years old. But a few years ago, something strange happened. She started growing a horn on her head. At first, it started off small, but now it's grown up to 6 centimeters in length. But the craziest part is, she's actually starting to grow a second horn on the other side. And doctors have offered to remove it from her head, but she refuses. Before I show you the craziest one, I just found a way you can find your celebrity lookalike, and apparently I look like Mr. Beast. If you want to know who your celebrity lookalike is, just press this link in the comments. Next up is Nong Yasoi, and he has perfect night vision. And the strange part about this is both his parents have brown eyes, but he has blue eyes. When everyone else sees darkness, he sees perfectly in the middle of the night.
Rarest things found on Earth. This is a red diamond, and it is one of the rarest material known to man. Because of that, they are way more expensive than normal diamonds. This tiny one is worth around $25 million.
Damn.
And this is a corpse flower. It's basically a giant flower that smells like rotting flesh, and it can only be found in remote areas in Indonesia. Imagine having one of these in your garden. And this small and beautiful sea creature is a blue dragon. It's only a few inches big, but it eats deadly jellyfish every day for food.
The more you know. I want that freaking red diamond.
A Russian
You gotta
scientist
find
injected
it.
himself with this ancient bacteria to see what would happen. Dr. Anatoly Brushkov discovered bacteria deep within the permafrost of Siberia that was 3.5 million years old, and somehow it was still alive. It was named Bacillus F, and after doing some experiments on it, he realized the bacteria not only seemed to be immune to aging, but also appeared to have a life-extending effect on almost every organism it touched. He tested the strain on female mice, who were able to continue reproducing into old age, much older than the average mice could, and when he exposed it to crops, they grew faster and were more frost resistant. The town of Yakut, Siberia, close to where this bacteria was found, also happens to be one of the coldest human settlements on Earth, with their population reporting longer lifespans than average humans, perhaps due to Bacillus F leaking into their water supply. Dr. Brushkov was so convinced he said "F it" and injected himself with the ancient bacterium to test it out firsthand. 2 years later, he reported dramatic improvements to his general health, claiming to need less sleep, working longer hours, and just having more energy in his day-to-day life. He also allegedly hasn't gotten sick since he injected himself with it, with him and his colleagues starting to call it the elixir of life. Dr. Brushkov did this in 2013 and claims to be in the best health of his life today. And I'm sure Big Pharma loves the idea of a miracle life potion that would potentially lose them billions of dollars a year in revenue, so we definitely should not question any articles that debunk this find. To be fair, these effects aren't exactly 100% confirmed and could very well be a placebo effect, but that sure didn't stop others from hopping on the Bacillus F bandwagon. German actress Manouche began self-medicating the bacteria and reported being able to go for longer runs, feeling less cold in the winter, and her skin just feeling softer and younger. Brushkov and his team insist the effects of Bacillus F are clear and significant, although they admit they're not yet sure why it has the effect it does. But if they can manage to isolate the gene responsible for the positive benefits of the bacteria, they may have just discovered the ultimate elixir of life. As long as there isn't, you know, a whole ass industry with infinite money that tries to stop it.
The elixir of life. I gotta believe that, man. Like I said, it could be a placebo effect, but I mean, if you can inject yourself with like a million years old bacteria, you have to be pretty sure to do that. I'm definitely gonna have to check that out. Go down that rabbit hole.
Toys Ever, Part 51. Mr. Bucket, released in 1990, discontinued twice, and brought back. But what was the problem? Well, the shape of the mouth didn't help. But the only thing they actually changed were the words in the jingle. A certain part they decided to cut out.
I'm Mr. Bucket. I'm Mr. Bucket. Vegetables in my top. I'm Mr. Bucket. Out of my mouth.
Extinct animals, scientists are close to reviving. Firstly, the woolly mammoth. It was believed to have gone extinct 25,000 years ago, but scientists discovered hundreds that just died recently. So they're planning to put its DNA inside African elephants, and they expect to bring them back in the next 5 years. Next, dodo birds were hunted to extinction 400 years ago, but a preserved head was recently discovered. By mixing that DNA with a maned pigeon, dodo birds should be coming back in 15 years. Finally, expect to see saber-toothed tigers outside soon, because scientists discovered DNA preserved in tar pits, and they plan to combine it with African lions. So this 10-inch tooth beast should be coming back in 10 years.
That's throwing off the environment, man. They shouldn't be doing that.
Never slice tomatoes this way. So when this guy noticed that his boss was slicing tomatoes one by one, wasting a lot of time, he decided to show him a trick that everyone should know. He took a plate, put a few tomatoes on it, covered them with another plate, and in one move, he sliced more tomatoes than his boss in an hour.
This pedophile artist still has an incredibly successful career after he was convicted. Meet Nobuhiro Watsuki. So Nobuhiro is from Japan. He was born in Tokyo, and he started drawing from a very early age. Eventually, Nobuhiro began publishing his manga. He started winning awards and began making a name for himself in anime. Now, a lot of people will recognize this guy's art, his works, but his most popular work has to be Rurouni Kenshin. I totally said that wrong, I'm sure. For decades, Nobuhiro was one of the biggest manga artists and authors in all of Japan. Like I said, receiving a lot of awards. But in 2017, Japanese police raided Nobuhiro's office. And inside of his office, they found 100 DVDs. Each one of these DVDs contained CP or CSAM. And all of these videos and photos featured children in their early teens. I mean, absolutely disgusting stuff. But what did the authorities in Japan do after finding this? Was he given a long prison sentence? 100 DVDs is a lot. Nope, he was fined about $1,500. That's right, he served 0 time in jail or prison and had to pay $1,500. And then shortly afterwards, his serialization of his manga continued, basically as if nothing had ever happened. Now, I'm not really a manga anime guy, but I'm sure that a lot of people on here are, and will definitely recognize this work. And I'm sure that a lot of the people that read this stuff don't know the history of the author. And in my mind, somebody who's convicted of a crime like this should never be supported in any sort of way. Financially, artistically, it doesn't matter. This is the type of guy that should be cut off from society. But he was pretty unrepentant, obviously, a $1,500 fine. I would definitely myself encourage Japanese authorities to go check this guy's hard drives nowadays.
Have you ever seen a Mickey
insane,
Mouse gas mask? These were made to calm terrified children. About a month after Pearl Harbor, Walt Disney was in Washington, D.C. to design and discuss Mickey Mouse gas masks for children. 1,000 of these were produced and given away to key members of Congress to help support the project. At the time, President Roosevelt even received one. Walt Disney also came up with drawing designs for Pluto and Three Little Pigs gas masks, although these ones never reached production. They attempted to keep the fun element in something as grim as gas raids. During these raids, children would be persuaded to regard the whole thing as a game.
That's crazy, man. A freaking Mickey Mouse gas mask? Makes you wonder, man, what other freaking, I guess, companies and stuff made things in that time. But like I said, there was only 1,000 of them, so obviously it was a limited number. That was just a dark time, man, in history. Kids had to think it was a game.
Curtain number 1. Wait.
That's an edit.
You don't remember what she looks like.
You call them out.
Here are the craziest things to ever happen at Walmart. So one day, an 18-year-old was craving milk. So he decided to steal not 1, not 2, but 26 gallons of milk from Walmart. Oh, and he did this dressed as a cow. And if that doesn't sound weird enough to you, you'd be surprised to learn that even though he made himself stand out in the cow costume, he managed to not get caught on the spot. Next, on Black Friday in 2013, a customer and his son were freaking out in Walmart because they thought that his ex-wife was possessed by a demon. And so they locked her in their car and set up an exorcism in the parking lot by throwing sacred oil at her, which might have been the reason why they ended up divorcing. Also, back in 2013, a 16-year-old was going into labor, and she gave birth in a Cannon City Walmart bathroom. Now, there was panic for a moment because the baby wasn't breathing. But luckily, one of the store's employees were CPR certified and they revived the baby. I guess Walmart really can help you live better. And finally, in 2011, at a Walmart in South Carolina, customers witnessed a man named Avery Blandon end the life of his wife, Lilia Blandon, while she was working inside the store's bank. Avery stabbed her multiple times and she sadly passed away on the way to the hospital. He then tried to escape the scene, but he crashed his SUV and was caught by police. But what's weird is that the store stayed open during the investigation, only in Walmart.
Did you guys see this video of these two planes that almost crashed into each other in midair? It was all caught by this police officer's dash cam. This all happened last month in Syracuse, New York, when a Delta airplane was cleared to take off, while at the same time an American airline airplane was cleared to land in the same runway. So the Delta airplane was on its way to LaGuardia Airport while the American airline plane was arriving from Washington Reagan Airport. What's crazy is that these two planes were only 725 feet away from each other in the air, but from the ground's point of view, they looked so much closer. At one point, the two planes were side by side, and that should not be happening for obvious reasons, which is why the job of an air traffic controller is so important. This error was completely on the air traffic controller, who shouldn't have cleared both airplanes at the same time. It's still unclear why and how this happened, but they're still investigating. Thankfully, both planes did not collide, and all 159 passengers are safe.
It's official.
That's insane to think about, man. Like, they were literally like that close. Like, there's like a hair off if something happened, man. Like she said, it was the air trafficker's job. That they need to, whoever's there that day, they have to get their freaking job reviewed or something like that, because they obviously was not paying attention. Flights, man. One of the most scariest things, man, that can happen. Fun fact, I've never been on an airplane before yet. I've never flown yet, so that just raises my anxiety.
Aliens exist. These are the remains of non-human creatures. They were presented to a hearing in Mexico's Congress, which is investigating unidentified anomalous phenomena. The hearing was told that the specimens were found in Peru in 2017 and apparently are 700 and 1800 years old. People online were quick to compare the likeness to that of E.T. from the movie. One user wrote, "No way, they can't be that small. Those are mutated cats." But looking at a picture that was released of their skull, this is no cat, which is eerily similar to a skull they found in 2021. What's worse is experts testified under oath that one of them is seen to have eggs inside it, and both specimens were said to have implants made of very rare metals. And even though the aliens are pretty small, you can tell that this is clearly something different. I ain't gonna lie, this guy looks like he doesn't want to go to work tomorrow. Let's take one last look. Do you believe in aliens?
Morbid facts.
Do?
Part 402. George Lopez has a genetic condition that caused his kidneys to slowly deteriorate. So when he needed a new kidney in 2005, his wife Ann gave him one of her own. A couple years later, George reportedly cheated on his wife, then divorced her in 2010, all while wearing her kidney. The first scientist to observe penguins engaging in gay intercourse, grape, and necrophilia was so disturbed that he tried to obscure his findings to prevent people from knowing the truth about penguins. In 1995, a substitute school bus driver in Illinois stopped at a red light with the back part of the bus still on some train tracks. The children were screaming for her to move the bus forward as a train approached, but she was confused about what they meant. The train struck the bus at 60 miles per hour and 7 children were killed. In 2018, Gloria Williams pleaded guilty to posing as a nurse to abduct Kamaya Mobley from her mother's arms in the maternity ward. She was sentenced to 18 years in prison, the same length of time Kamaya was separated from her birth family.
That was not it.
4-year-old Gabby Mann was living in Seattle, Washington with her family. One day, she dropped a chicken nugget onto the ground, and before she could pick it up, a neighborhood crow swooped down and took the free lunch. And because Gabby was a messy eater, she continued to drop food everywhere she went, and so she continued to inadvertently feed these crows. She grew to really enjoy the the attention, and so she started feeding them huge portions of her lunch. When Gabby's mother discovered where most of her daughter's food was going, she wasn't upset. She was just worried her daughter wasn't getting enough to eat. They would go out and buy some food just for the crows. She and her mom began feeding the crows every day. Gabby went outside one morning to refill the peanut tray when she noticed there was a small earring. Over the following few weeks, when more and more little trinkets started showing up, Gabby's mom installed a camera. She was amazed to see the crows would come in and they would eat their food, and then they would leave behind these shiny little trinkets. But the crows' most astonishing gift came the following year. Gabby's mother was an avid photographer, and one day she was out by herself photographing a bald eagle. She managed to drop a lens cover to one of her cameras. That night, when she got back to her house, she couldn't believe what was sitting there. She ran back inside and pulled up the footage from the bird camera, and there it was, a crow coming into the yard with the lens cap in its mouth. This behavior is very significant because it means the relationship between the crows and Gabby and her mom was not a transactional one. Today, Gabby and her mother still feed the crows every single day, and the crows still love Gabby and her mother.
Okay,
it's like good karma coming back to
a
you.
pharmaceutical company that's trialing a new groundbreaking age reversal pill had such good results that the local news wanted to run a story on them. But before they even could publish the video, the chairman and CEO died. You see, 6 months ago, this 12-year-old German Shepherd was near death. He had terminal cancer, was operated on, and his prognosis wasn't looking good. The dog's caretaker knew that an age reversal trial was being conducted on dogs, and so she asked if Zeus could be a part of it due to his dire situation. The pill's aim is to lengthen telomere caps on human stem cells, because as part of the aging process, our telomeres shorten, which increases the chance of age-related diseases and, of course, death.
If you can increase telomeres, you can reproduce stem cells and keep repairing things so that you can get literally younger.
They said that in their drug's preclinical data from a previous in vitro human cell study, it showed that the medication lengthened telomeres by almost 200%. Zeus was granted access to the medication in April, and his caretaker said that she saw results almost immediately.
He's doing marvelously. He goes out to our pool and he swims and he has fun and he plays with the tennis ball.
A recent scan showed that the cancer in his body had completely disappeared, and the results were so remarkable that she asked for more to give another 12-year-old dog that could hardly walk due to arthritis. And just last week, she said that he had started galloping and running again. But then, despite all of that, hit us with this.
And we are sad to report that since this interview was conducted, Dr. Christopher Chapman has recently passed away.
On the company's website, they announced his passing, saying, out of respect and privacy for Dr. Chapman's family, details of the 71-year-old's passing will not be made available. And then added that to support the new chairman and CEO, 3 telomere directors have voluntarily resigned. Human trials for this drug are planned for mid-2025.
The rarest things in the world.
What do you think happened?
Vaquita, only 10 left in the wild. Rarest gem on earth, painite worth $60,000 per carat. Rarest poker hand, the royal flush, 1 in 655,000 chance. Rarest element on earth, astatine, less than 1 gram on earth exists. Rarest car, Ferrari 250, Gran Turismo.
Gran Turismo? Didn't they make a movie about that?
Okay, this is getting hard to believe, but there has just been reports of a second wave of explosions in Lebanon, but this time it's people's walkie-talkies. So yesterday, Hezbollah fighters' pagers, today, their radios. Initial reports are saying that the most recent wave of explosions have caused cars and houses to be set on fire, and there were even reports, this one's crazy, that one exploded at a funeral of someone who died from yesterday's explosions. And while I'm on the topic of explosions, you're going to see a lot of reports of people saying explosive devices found at Trump rally, even going as far as saying third assassination attempt, ? Let me just save you some time. That is a false report. There's going to be a lot of corrections. Don't worry about it. I'll keep you updated.
Imagine being kidnapped, locked in a basement, and then when the police come, they just leave you there to die. Back in the 1980s, many girls in Belgium were just randomly vanishing without a trace. This guy right here, Mark Detroit, was the guy who was doing all of this. Now in his early years, he had a lot of relationship issues and ended up marrying his second wife, Michelle Martin, this woman right here. What these two would do together genuinely will make you feel sick. Major trigger warning, if you're easily scared, please just keep on scrolling right now. This is your final one. On June the 7th, 1985, they took their first victim, who was an 11-year-old girl walking home from school, which they kidnapped. They took her back to their place, armed her, and then took a photo of her after this before just releasing her. Now they did this tons of times before actually being caught by the police the first time, but then it got far worse. So they were both arrested but got a very, very short sentence and were out in no time. Mark was released in 1992 after serving literally 3 years in prison for all of this. Of course, the reason they were caught the first time was because the victims they let go free had reported them, so they built this literal dungeon in the basement of the house where they would keep people. He went on to kidnap at least 6 people in the space of a couple years and left them all in here. At this time, the news was going crazy in the local area because tons of girls were going missing. No one knew where they were, but they were all in here. Now, even crazier again, Mark's own mother actually reported him to the police and they still didn't go round. And she even told the police that he literally had girls captive in the basement right now and the police did nothing. Not long after this, though, Mark was actually arrested for something completely separate, stealing a car, and he told his wife she would have to keep the girls in the basement alive by watering them and feeding them. Yeah. Now, by far, the most angering part of this whole story is that the police finally went round and did a check on the house. He literally heard children screaming, begging for help, and they walked out. They did nothing. Because apparently it sounded like the screams were coming from outside, which is kids playing prank or something. Like, what? There was even undeveloped camera film on the side here, which they just didn't develop, but if they did, they would have seen literally everything. Now apparently this woman was too scared to go into the basement and look after the girls, so tragically passed away. When he finally got out, he started again, and more girls started vanishing, until eventually someone came forward after spotting him in a van, basically while in the act. He then confessed, showed the police the whole basement and everything, and even showed them where some bodies of people were. He also reportedly had another accomplice that they had a disagreement, and he unalived him and buried him in the house as well. After the whole case came to a close, she got 30 years in jail, and he got a life sentence.
Turned on him. Marius Els adopted 5-month-old baby Humphrey and took him to live in his 400-acre farm in South Africa. When Humphrey was a baby, everything was fine, but a lot of people warned Marius how dangerous Humphrey can become when he gets bigger. Marius ignored everyone and treated Humphrey like a pet. He would even ride on his back for fun and showed zero fear of this hippo. But it wasn't long until Humphrey got bigger and he eventually reached 1.2 tons and attacked Marius's nephew and almost killed him. But that's not all. In 2011, Humphrey attacked Marius in front of his family and took his life. This all happened when Marius called Humphrey to eat, and according to Marius's family, Humphrey's demeanor was different on this day, basically showing signs of aggression. Marius believed that his pet hippo would never betray him, so he ignored all these signs. When he continued to call Humphrey out of the water to eat, Humphrey suddenly stormed out and attacked Marius, biting into his body multiple times and then dragging him into the water. And this all happened in front of his family, the same people that warned Marius about Humphrey. What's crazy is that even though hippos look super sweet and cute compared to other wild animals, they actually kill more people each year than any other mammal on this planet. Just something to keep in mind.
They wild animals, man.
Greater Buenos Aires mysteriously turned red, sparking fears among locals of a toxic spill, according to local reports. Local media say that authorities have collected water samples to investigate the discoloration of the river, which flows into the Rio de la Plata and is near an ecological reserve, according to Reuters. Initial findings from government agencies suggest that the substance may not be toxic, according to Reuters.
Morbid facts.
It's not toxic, so so why is the water red? Maybe it's a sign. It was coming like, back in the old days, but there's something going on, man. That's in Rio too. I'm definitely going to have to freaking check up on that, man. My sensor's going off on that one.
Part 509. In 2016, Texas father Daniel Shaver was held up by police after he was seen pointing a pellet gun out of his hotel window. Several officers had rifles pointed at Shaver in the hallway as he attempted to comply with them, but their commands were confusing and contradictory, especially since Shaver was drunk. For example, they told Shaver not to put his hands down for any reason before telling him to start crawling towards them. As Shaver was crawling and begging for his life, he reached back to pull his pants up and was killed instantly by Officer Philip Brailsford, who later claimed he thought Shaver was reaching for a weapon. Brailsford was charged with second-degree murder and found not guilty, since the full unedited footage wasn't released until hours after his acquittal. Brailsford was rehired by the department and reimbursed for all the medical expenses he paid while seeking treatment for the PTSD he claimed he acquired from the shooting. Because of this, Brailsford was medically retired and now collects a $2,500 pension every month.
Man, that's a chilling story. And that's how, man, me personally, I ain't playing with no freaking BB guns and stuff like that because people can misinterpret it and a real situation could happen. So, I don't play with that stuff. It ain't worth it. You saw firsthand. Trust me, man. You know what this is.
This is what they meant when they said, don't talk to strangers. In the early 1900s, a 10-year-old boy was playing in the woods when a tall man appeared and asked if he wanted to come back to his cabin for dinner. Totally caught off guard, the boy reluctantly agrees and begins walking. When they get to the cabin, the boy is relieved when he sees Paul, a family friend, sitting on the porch, so the boy happily goes inside. After they eat, the boy says thank you to the strange tall man, says bye to Paul, and then he leaves. He had only walked a few steps when he sees his family, along with Paul, running up the path towards him, frantically asking if he was okay. Confused, the boy says, I'm just fine, and he looks at Paul and he's like, why didn't you tell them I was with you at the cabin? And he points over his shoulder. Paul glances over the boy's shoulder and then narrows his eyes and says, you were kidnapped by a cult 3 days ago. No one's seen you. Terrified, the boy turns around to look at the cabin he just came from, and it's gone. All he sees is a dark forest that stretches for miles.
What the hell?
Scary games you should never play. This is the cat scratch game. The game requires 2 players. Player 1, lie your back on the floor with your head resting on player 2's lap. Player 2 will recite one of these 2 stories while rubbing player 1's temples.
I never play any of these scary games that get suggested.
When player 2 has finished the story, stand up and pull up player 1's shirt. Their back should be covered in red claw marks. Many swear that whatever scratched them was something much more sinister than just a cat.
This is why it's always a bad idea to go to graveyards at night. Urban explorer Frank from Franco TV explored a graveyard in Peru. As he explores the area, he sees a group of people far in the corner. Not knowing what's going on and worried for his safety, he hides in a tomb waiting for them to leave. 30 minutes gone by, they turn off the lights and begin to leave. Scared someone may still be there, Frank waits 30 more minutes. As he makes his way to the tomb, what he finds is disturbing. Frank finds a circle of candles and what looks like a voodoo doll next to a star. He also finds a container with unknown contents. As Frank tries to communicate with the spirits in that area, he hears laughing coming from one of the graves. Worried for his safety, he decides to leave and says he doesn't want any problems or to be followed by anything there. As Frank makes his way out, he sees something horrifying. What looks like a person can be seen peeking at Frank from the corner of the tomb. But when he checks around the tomb, there's no one there.
Somebody was definitely still
Friendly
there.
reminder that if you're ever in Churchill, Canada, it is illegal, if not very frowned upon, to lock your car. The reason is so that if a polar bear comes after you, hiding in someone else's car might be your only option. Not only are polar bears one of the few animals that will actively try to eat humans, since they can track prey from miles away, they'll smell you way before you see them. Remember, if it's brown, get on the ground. If it's black, fight back. Talking about bears. If it's white like an addict's nose, your casket finna be closed.
Okay, stay away from polar bears. Once again, noted. I didn't know there was a law, I guess, where it was at that you had to keep your car door open because if we get to attack you like that, man. I keep thinking about that meme, bro. What the hell is a polar bear doing in Arlington, Texas?
This is a test to see if you have healthy eyes. If you pass all 5 levels, your vision is perfect.
Let's do it.
All you have to do is pick one out of the 10 colors that is different from the rest. Starting off easy, you can clearly see that number 7 is lighter than the rest of them. 97% of people pass this stage, but it's about to get way harder. Okay, let's move on to medium. This one is a little more difficult and will require a little more attention. The correct answer is 2. Level advanced is even harder. Only 30% of people make it past this stage, so really focus and you'll see that the correct answer is 4. Superhuman. human, this level is really going to test your vision, and I know these look identical, but if you look closely, number 4 is slightly different. And the final level, impossible. 92% of people failed this level, and the answer is 10. Were you right? Comment below.
Oh, man. I tried to pass that test. I think the last one, that's what really got to me, bro. But I basically passed it all up until the last one, man. Did you guys keep up?
Don't even get me started on Laura Karen. That teacher was sexually assaulting a 13-year-old boy since he was 11 years old, got pregnant with his baby, and then wasn't even arrested until the baby was 5. And as of today, she has been released from jail. If you've never heard of Laura Karen, she worked at Middle Township Elementary School. She was a 5th grade teacher, meaning that she primarily worked with 10 to 11-year-old students. And from 2016 to 2020, she was sexually abusing a boy who she had had as a student. She had also had his brother in her class. And obviously it was before this all came out, but he, his brother, and his sister, so 3 siblings, actually went to go live in her home for a period of time. And that was between 2016 and 2020, and that is when things got really bad for that boy. According to his sister, when that boy would go into the bathroom to take a shower, Laura would go into the bathroom and lock the door. Additionally, all of the siblings shared a bedroom in her house. However, in the morning when the 2 other siblings would wake up, they would notice that their brother wasn't there, and their brother was in bed with Laura. She had become friends with the parents of those siblings, and she was actually trusted to be a resource parent. In New Jersey, the term resource parent is a synonym for foster parent. But Laura took that trust and completely violated it. She violated their son, and she managed to get away with it for years until December of 2024. That is when she was arrested. I believe it was December 17th. It was found out because the child that she had was a son who looked a lot like the son who she sexually abused. And he looked a lot like the victim's father, and understandably so. And the victim confirmed to his sister that he was the father. She appeared in court today, Tuesday, January 21st of 2025. The judge has ruled that she can be released as her case continues.
A teacher gave a final exam where students had to draw and achieve a high score in the shortest possible time. While walking around the classroom, the teacher noticed one student drawing in an incredibly surprising and unconventional way. The student used a ruler and 2 pens to make their drawing perfectly identical to the reference image. What do you think about this?
This is how you can get full control over your body. If you're ever feeling really stressed or anxious, I got you. All you have to do is slowly blow on your thumb for 30 seconds like this. This will slow down your heartbeat and calm your nerves so you won't have to worry anymore. Next, if you ever wake up in the morning and your hand or arm has fallen asleep, all you have to do is shake your head and it will quickly go away. But if your leg falls asleep, all you have to do is wiggle your toes and your leg will be back to normal right away. If you're ever sick to your stomach and you want to get feeling better quickly, listen up. Squeeze down your left thumb like this to deactivate your gag reflex so you won't gag. And place your thumb right here on your wrist to get rid of your nausea. Finally, eating peanut butter before you fall asleep at night could change your life. It's scientifically proven that eating peanut butter before you fall asleep can help you fall asleep much faster. And it will also give you insanely vivid dreams. A rare and mysterious illness is currently sweeping through a city in India, leaving patients suddenly paralyzed and unable to control their body. With what began as a child struggling to hold their pencil in January, has now escalated into a full-scale medical emergency. Of 170 reported cases, dozens in intensive care, at least 5 suspected deaths, and even teams from the WHO arriving in Pune to investigate. But here's what makes this illness so terrifying. It has what's referred to as the Russian roulette effect. You see, the bacteria that can trigger the paralysis is everywhere. It's found in contaminated food and water, and most people consume it at some point in their life without even knowing. But for reasons that scientists still don't fully understand yet, only in a small percentage of cases, this bacteria can trigger Guillain-Barré syndrome, which causes the immune system to go rogue, shutting down your body piece by piece. For example, last month, a school teacher noticed that our 6-year-old son couldn't hold his pencil properly, and within days, his legs and arms stopped working. He lost the ability to swallow, speak, and eventually breathe, requiring ventilator support. At that stage, you can think of it like having sleep paralysis while being fully awake. Now, because there is no cure for GBS, early intervention is critical, and that's why authorities have now set up special hospital wards, launched mass water testing, and called in the WHO in efforts to contain the outbreak and prevent more lives being put at risk. As the situation develops, I'll keep you guys updated.
This preacher calls
keep me up to date.
Paranormal in church. Let's watch it together.
Well, hey everybody, Pastor Aaron here. It's my pleasure just to announce that this Sunday will be open. And...
Oh nah.
Okay, we've been trying to do this announcement several times today already, and 3 times that podium back there has fallen over on its own, and it's stable. I mean, it's not wobbly at all.
Leave the church. I would leave.
It's kind of like
I'm in the jets.
Wow. That podium has been wobbling. Okay, so we checked the vent. There's a vent there that is not an air duct that has any forced air at all, so it can't be wobbling from that. There's absolutely no breeze in here. You can see by the banner there.
Call Ghostbusters.
This no air conditioning. It's these things, they're off. I don't know. So I'm just gonna sit here and watch it for a little bit, and we will see if it does it again.
Oh nah, I'm leaving.
Nothing's moving. That hasn't been moving.
I'm leaving. You see that?
He's still there.
Seriously, nothing else. There's no breeze. It's moving again.
It's time to go.
Oh yeah, I'm out.
Have you
I'm
ever
in the
seen a boarding
jets.
pass that's so big it could double as a billboard? Well, one man's oversized ticket has taken the internet by storm. This hilarious moment was caught on camera in an airport when a guy rolled up to the gate with what might just be the world's most dramatic boarding pass. Of course, it wasn't long before a very confused officer had to step in. While people who saw the huge boarding pass thought it was a joke, the passenger was completely serious. But as for the officer, he was trying his hardest to not crack up while keeping the situation serious. This lady just broke a Guinness World of Record by eating cotton candy. Meet Leia Shutkeever, a speed eater extraordinaire who just devoured an insane amount of cotton candy in only 60 seconds, shattering the Guinness World Record. But the best part? When she was presented with the Grinchy treat, she had one simple question. Why is it green? David Wilson, the adjudicator, couldn't help but respond with a smile and said, "It's quite Grinchy."
That candy floss. Why is it green? It's quite grinchy. It is quite grinchy.
To break the record, Leia had to demolish at least 45 grams of this sticky sweet green goo in under a minute. And did she? Of course she did, leaving her with sticky fingers and a sticky face. But Leia isn't just about cotton candy. She's also set records for inhaling 19 chicken nuggets in a minute and 10 Jolly Donuts in 3 minutes.
Now actually know what happens when we die. In some of the biggest news of the century, we've now got evidence suggesting that your life carries on after you die, and it gets a lot crazier than that. Make sure you share this video with your friends and family because you don't want to miss this. So an old woman was passing away, and as she died they had her hooked up to a machine which was monitoring her brain. Now what scientists got from these scans after she passed away was these photos, which don't look like much right now. But what these show is that a part of the brain, specifically the part of the brain that processes memories and experiences, was still active after death for around 8 minutes. And this is crazy because years ago I made a video saying about the 8 minutes after death and how your brain is still active. They did tests before on a man who died and found similar things, but nothing as concrete as this. As I say, from these scans, it showed that the brain was still active for around 8 minutes after this woman passed away. And specifically that she was processing memories, i.e. her life, flashing before her eyes, the common term you've probably heard. So this suggests that when you pass away, your life does flash before your eyes. You get memory flashbacks and maybe relive parts of your life. But it also links into the theory I've spoken about before and many people have said. Think about when you have a dream. Sometimes dreams can feel really real and time's different, time dilation of course. Sometimes you'll have a dream, it feels like an hour, but you wake up and it's been about 2 minutes. Well, the same might be happening in this 8 minutes after death. Reliving memories, what feels like days, weeks, but it's only in the 8 minutes. Or maybe even like a lucid dream, creating some sort of new reality. So what's to say you're not dead right now in that 8 minutes, and this is all just a figment of your imagination.
What are the chances of 2 rivers?
That brings up a good point, man, especially at the end. That's like the simulation theory. That's what I got. But life, we heard before, you know, like your life flashed before your eyes. Guess there's some truth to that. We learning today.
2,000 miles apart, mysteriously turning blood red at the same time. And we don't know the cause for either. Worried residents in both Lima, Peru and Buenos Aires, Argentina have shared footage online reporting strong odors accompanying the discoloration. One local described the scene saying, "It looks like a stream of blood. We have never seen it like this." Now, while we don't know for sure what's caused either yet, I wouldn't go as far as saying it's a scene from a biblical prophecy.
I'll just leave that there for a second. Rather, in Peru, environmental experts believe that it could be caused by pollutants discharged from mines and drainage pipes flowing into the river. Despite this, local water supplier, Cinepal, assured the public that the water is still safe to drink. And they better be bloody right, because this river is one of the country's most important water sources. And then for the river in Argentina, authorities suspect the presence of aniline, which is a toxic substance used in dyes, and they believe that it could have been dumped there by local companies. But then again, if Jesus did want to come back, it's not a bad time.
Those freaking two rivers trying to reconnect.
Susan Lewis and her daughter Jamie moved into a new home in Southern California, and shortly after moving in, Susan's new boyfriend Matt, he moved in as well. Also, Matt had a daughter named Marie, who was the same age as Jamie. A few weeks after moving in, Susan goes into the kitchen and she sees on the counter that a peanut butter jar had its lid off and had been turned on its side. Peanut butter seemed to be running out of the jar like it had been melted. So she figures one of the kids must have come in here and for whatever reason, microwaved the peanut butter and then dumped it on the counter. And Jamie would say that she literally laughed at her mom, like, why would I do that? And Marie too is like, no, I didn't touch the peanut butter. And all four of them spend the rest of the day goofing around outside near the pool. Later that day, they find that there have been cans that you would keep in your pantry, like canned food, stacked on each of the steps leading upstairs. They also find that there have been random objects placed all over the house in strange patterns. Hairbrushes arranged in a star pattern on the counter. They open the microwave and find peanut butter jars and other random canned foods and stuffed animals from the kids' rooms in the microwave. The cleaning materials underneath the sink had been pulled out and arranged in a height line from shortest to tallest. They think that someone's invaded their house, so they run back out again, and no one's come near their property. Ultimately just kind of moved on. In the last couple of weeks that they ever stayed at this house, because they would leave, two major events occurred. The first one happened when Marie was home alone. She's sitting in the living room watching TV, and at some point the TV starts turning off and on. And the TV finally just turns off. She can't get it on. She reaches for the remote. The remote flies off the table as all the pictures on the walls just start one by one falling off the wall. She takes her camera in her hand and kind of turns it and just starts taking pictures of the room. There are these weird orbs of light that are very clearly in the room with her. The second major event that occurred in those final 2 weeks, Jamie was in her room and she starts hearing pounding on her door. She started filming this pounding on her door.
Seen this firsthand.
And so she didn't open the door, and she went back onto her bed, and she just sat there in the fetal position for 3 hours, listening to something smashing nonstop into the door. She opens the door, and there's no one there. But the door on the outside, where the knocking had been happening, there's this huge dent and divot in the door. She sees that now there is a frying pan sitting in the hall that has a toilet paper roll completely on fire. Grabs a sweatshirt and she smothers the fire, and she goes outside defeated and just sits on the front steps of her house. Jamie explains what happens, and that was it. And so they barely packed up and they left that house. It didn't sell. Susan literally went bankrupt, and soon after they left the neighborhood, their neighbors left the neighborhood, and 5 other neighbors in their immediate vicinity all left. All of the houses.
4 ways that you can hack your body.
Okay.
Number 1, if your arms ever fall asleep, just shake your head like this and it will go away like nothing. Number 2, if you really have to go to the bathroom but there's no place to go, just scratch the back of your calf as hard as you can. This will actually stall your brain and you will forget you ever had to go.
Whoa.
Number 3, if you ever have trouble falling asleep, just blink your eyes as fast as you can for 1 minute. This will tire out your eyes and make it easier for you to fall asleep. Number 4, if you ever want to activate night vision, go on your phone in a dark room and cover your eye for 30 seconds. Then look around and enjoy being Superman.
People are freaking out after 9 pillars of light were seen in the sky above a coastal town in Japan recently. And it wasn't just one picture. These 9 lights were seen from multiple different angles. So, what the hell is that? Well, the man who originally posted the photos said that it's actually a rare natural phenomenon called fishing firelight pillars. And he said that it's caused by powerful lights placed on fishing boats to attract larger catches. As temperatures cool overnight, crystals sometimes form in the air, and then the boat's lights reflect off of the crystals, creating
this is never just as simple as aliens, is it?
This man followed a teen and her grandmother who were on a trail, and then he took their lives. In 2021, a 17-year-old Hera and her grandmother, 78-year-old Sanetta, were found deceased in their home in Largo, Florida. Earlier that day, Hera and her grandmother went on a walk on the Pinellas Trail not too far from their house. On their way home, 19-year-old Sage Curry followed them to their house. He waited for the sun to go down before entering their home through the bedroom window. Sage then went into the kitchen and looked for the sharpest knife he could find and used that to attack the grandmother as she slept. Hera ran into the room after hearing her grandmother scream, and she was also stabbed to death. What's insane is that there was no relationship between the victims and Sage. He literally did this for absolutely no reason. His family said that his mental health declined after his 18th birthday and he became delusional, so much that he couldn't tell fiction from reality and believed that TV shows he watched were real. While he sat in jail, he got this moon tattooed on his forehead, which referenced a TV show character who had DID. Sage also got one of the victims' names tattooed on his ankle. In court, he really tried to use the insanity defense, but that was rejected. Sage was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Just senseless. Seekers, man, we believe in vampires. They had some gear. The mummified vampire face. I don't know if that's edited or something like that, but looks pretty kind of legit to me. Vampires. That's what about if we get top fears, man? Heat vampires. They just weird me out. Should we deep dive into that one? Who knows?
Disturbing facts that will ruin your life. When whales reach a certain age, they will eventually be too weak to swim back to the surface for air, so they will just suffocate to death and eventually sink to the bottom of the ocean.
Whoa.
When you die, you will be aware that you were dead until the moment your brain fully ceases function. When getting laser eye surgery, you can smell the parts of your eyes being shaved down. During the French Revolution, where the guillotine was introduced, the people to be executed fought to be first, as the blade would dull after multiple uses, and wouldn't cut a head clean off at the first attempt. If you're male, after you die, your loved ones can have a doctor electrocute your prostate to force you to ejaculate for sperm. Humans have enough bite power to bite off their own finger, bone and all. The only thing stopping us is our brain's natural safety factor. A deceased human body can take between 24 to 48 hours to decompress, releasing the remaining blood, urine, and fecal matter, depending on the situation, position, and method of death. If you die on a submarine, they put your body in the fridge with all the food. If not, up a torpedo tube. It's actually common that corpses will periodically burp, fart, gasp, groan as gases escape through the mouth and anus. When you get burned by electricity, it actually leaves marks shaped like lightning on your skin. Hit the plus sign if you want to learn more facts.
The more you know. I learned some new information today. Definitely. It's crazy, especially about that one when you're on the submarine. Don't eat the food or the sub. You don't know where it's been at. We getting some quick cases, they ain't even coming up.
Tips that could save your life one day. When you go into a bathroom or changing room, make sure no one's looking at you using a two-way mirror.
Whoa.
A two-way mirror means that someone on the other side could be looking at you, but there's an easy way to tell the difference. Put your finger on the surface of the mirror. If there's a gap between your finger and its reflection, then you're safe. But if there isn't, then it's a two-way mirror. If you're in an emergency and need to get to one floor straight away without any stops in an elevator, here's what to do. Press the closed door button and the floor you want to go to. Keep holding them down until you reach that floor. This will bypass any stops, and it's often used by emergency services. What if you're driving a car and suddenly you fall into water? You won't be able to open your car's door because of the water pressure closing it shut. You actually need to roll down your window. This will allow some water to go into the car. The pressure will then equalize and the doors will open automatically and you can swim out.
I never knew about the elevator
There
fact.
used to be a nearly 20-foot bulletproof serial killer whose victims included humans and hippos.
Gustav was a Nile crocodile from Burundi, and scientists estimated that he was over 18 feet long and weighed well over 2,000 pounds. And with a bite force of 3,700 pounds, getting attacked by him was like getting assaulted by a sledgehammer with teeth. Because Gustav was too big to hunt the usual victims like zebra and antelope, he instead put wildebeest and yes, even hippos on t-shirts. He also likely resorted to cannibalism if he was ever low on groceries. And he didn't stop there, because this overgrown Bundy gecko allegedly had a body count of about 300 people. And apparently Gustav would tear his victim to pieces and not even eat the mutilated corpse. Bro was real life stat padding. And wouldn't you know, the bastard was bulletproof, since one of Gustav's defining traits was that he had 3 bullet scars on his body. But the scariest thing about him is how he would have gone about taking your life. Like all crocodiles and alligators, Gustav would have slowly creeped on you in the water with only his eyes visible. The rest of his body would be hidden in the murky water. Then he would have slammed his jaws on you with the force of a car, strong enough to tear muscle and break bone, and at this point you'd be 50 shades of with about 60 teeth buried into your flesh. 2,000-pound Gustav would have dragged you underwater and death rolled you, and how long you lived would depend on where he got you. If he managed to get a hold of your arm, he would have effectively ripped it right out of the socket. If he got your midsection, he would have disemboweled you, meaning if you didn't straight up drown, you would have bled out. If you messed around and let him grab your neck, he would have barrel rolled your head off. Remember how I said he turned 300 people into hashtags? Considering how violently crocodiles kill their prey, it could be more, we just haven't found the bodies yet. Scientist Patrice Faye spent months trying to capture him, but somehow a nearly 20-foot assault weapon managed to avoid them every time. Gustav allegedly died in 2019, but we don't know how, why, or who did it, and we don't know how many lives he took with him.
That's a damn dinosaur. That ain't no crocodile. It's crazy how they can grow to that size. I saw another one on Twitter, and it was even like bigger than that one. What's going on in nature, man? Something going on.
Oh, you're so traumatized. It makes me want to.
What haunted?
Things that are way bigger than you think. Part 3. This is a human hand compared to an eagle's talon. To put that into perspective, they can probably pawn the whole face. This is what the world's tallest man ever would look like standing next to Shaq. Shaq is 7 feet 2 inches tall, and the world's tallest man ever was 8 feet 11. That red line is where the average American would be. Moose are a lot bigger than you think. Some of them can grow to be almost 8 feet tall off the ground. And finally, this is how big a traffic light is. I don't know what you're gonna do with this knowledge, but if you learn something, leave a like and maybe even a follow.
It really goes to show you, man, how I guess proportions really work, or how distance really affects us, man. Because especially about the red, you know, the red, white, yellow, the red, yellow, and green stoplight. So looking at it from afar, you would think that it's actually small, but go close, it takes up like half our size, man. Goes to show you about how distance, how it changes things. I just find that interesting.
The video I'm about to show you is a reason why you should never go camping.
What the fuck is that?
Oh, hell no.
Guys, wait!
What the fuck? Oh, he out.
What do you think that is? Do you believe that it's a skinwalker? Or maybe it's the rake? Let me know in the comments below. Also, check me out on YouTube for more spooky crap. Link in bio.
What's the rake?
Let's talk about skinwalkers. They are said to be powerful witches and medicine men. They can even change their form to any animal they desire, including humans. But they mainly change into deer, wolves, and coyotes. The scary part is they say if you see one, they can steal your face and even your last scream for help. You might think this is like a folklore or tale. People actually believe these are real. The scary part is there's actual videos of people seeing oddly walking humans screaming help in the middle of nowhere.
Oh.
See, they say skinwalkers pretend to be humans in distress, and if they're calling out for help, they're just trying to lure you in. That's when they take your life and use your voice and your look to catch their next gullible victim. A man's wife wasn't even home, but yet somebody was calling him to come downstairs in his wife's voice.
Oh, no, I'm out that house. Deuces. We out. I can't lay there no more. Not an option.
If you want me to go out in the middle of the field, at least shapeshift to look like Rihanna or Beyonce. I'm making a mess, but this look good. I'll be there in a minute. 30 seconds flat. Naked. Very naked. Maybe even Lizzo. Let's light this candle.
Most disturbing websites in the world. This picture contains a list of disturbing websites from the least scary to the most. View at your own risk. Today we're going to be starting from tier 4 since the other ones I posted got removed. The first website is theblackvault.com. This website contains 2 million unreleased documents from the government. The creepiest part about it is there's an entire section dedicated to the supernatural. For example, while I was browsing, I found an article related to skinwalkers. And many people who posted this photo mysteriously had their post taken down. Another website is called kekma.net. You guys didn't trust me last time, but do not look this up. I'm only talking about this one because it's on the list. Make sure to like and follow for tier 5 tomorrow because tomorrow is where it gets real.
Those tier lists, man. Where they say they found us some info where it has the UFOs and stuff like that. I don't know if I should check that out or not, but it's kind of crazy how all those sites that was on there. He said there was some more that even got banned, so we don't know where those was gonna lead to. You guys gonna check out those site seekers? Found out some info? I don't know. He said he did. I guess you gotta be careful going on those sites. You're going down a dangerous rabbit hole.
Hello, my
Giants?
Friend. The sword you showed was the sword of Wallace. And as the name suggests, it belonged to William Wallace, a Scottish knight from the 13th century. The length of the sword is 5'4", suggesting either that William himself was over 6'5", or the sword was not meant to be used on horseback, but rather on foot against cavalries, or it simply wasn't actually his sword. As for those giant remains, I don't think I need to explain this, but it's Photoshop. The creator of this image is called Miss Presto or something like that on YouTube. You can find more of their work.
He's debunking those joints
I
for
didn't
us.
ask for this, so I think that it's time to show who I am now.
December 23rd, 2022, one day before her birthday, 22-year-old Jacqueline Durand was approaching the house she had been hired to dog sit at when she wasn't taking classes at the University of Texas in Dallas. A sign the homeowners had above the entrance would give an ominous warning, one that would go unnoticed. And so Jacqueline walked right into what would become a living nightmare. Immediately after entering the front glass door, and before she could even close the actual second front door, the two dogs in the home, a German Shepherd named Lucy and a pit bull named Bender, rushed directly towards Jacqueline, violently bringing her down to the ground, causing her to drop her cell phone, and then dragged her from the front door all the way into the kitchen. At this point, the two large dogs pinned her down and mauled her face, ripping off her ears, nose, cheeks, and lips to the bone. These dogs were actually so violent and bloodthirsty that they ripped apart and tore off all the articles of clothing that Jacqueline was wearing. Now, fortunately, because Jacqueline was not able to actually close that second front door, it triggered a home security alarm. And so eventually, local police showed up to the property, as seen in this footage.
I see her feet right there.
First responder body camera video shows the two dogs who attacked her, holding the police at bay. Once police made their way inside, Jacqueline was ultimately rushed to a nearby hospital and underwent multiple operations. The first one, which was an emergency surgery, lasted 7 hours, and she had to be resuscitated on the operation table multiple times. Now, the couple that owned these two dogs, Ashley Jo Bishop and Avery Bishop, offered no help and no financial assistance to her whatsoever. Since this incident, Jacqueline acquired a lawyer, and this couple has been served a lawsuit. Also, the two dogs involved in this attack were ultimately ordered by a judge to be euthanized. Jacqueline says to the public she does not want to be seen as a victim and only an example to other dog owners to know your dogs, take more precaution, and just be careful.
Okay, so I've been...
Man, that case is chilling. Like, they were freaking like you said, those dogs were freaking bloodthirsty, man. And I don't know what the heck they were training those dogs to do or something like that, but that's crazy that those dogs were acting like that, man. Look what happened. Man. Bones in the case.
On an Alexi Trabiso kick lately because her trial is on August 26th, which is pretty much right around the corner, so we gotta get her trending again. Before I go further, I want to say that if you're not seeing my face in this video, you're not watching it from my page. Unfortunately, there are a lot of fake accounts that have been stealing my audio and putting it with their own videos. So anyway, let's get into it. This Facebook belongs to Rosa Rodriguez, who is Alexi's mother. She posted on April 10th of this year, balloon release for my beloved baby Alex with a peace dove. And it looks like that balloon there is also in the shape of a dove. Now, just like with everything else regarding this family, I don't understand this at all. Like, Rosa, your beloved grandson, baby Alex, would most likely still be alive if your daughter hadn't put him in a trash can and not asked a single person for help. Or you. The couple times you were outside that bathroom door checking on her, she easily could have said, "Hey, Mom, I'm in here having a baby. Can you come help me because I don't know what to do?" She literally tried to hide him from everybody, including you. And yes, there have been inconsistencies from the hospital staff in their statements, but the fact still remains that she went into the bathroom alone, she birthed the baby alone by her own choice, and she didn't ask a single person for help. She didn't pull that cord, she didn't ask you, nobody. And then she came out of that bathroom and didn't say a single word about it. And there's a good chance that had she asked for help, he might still be alive, and he'd be about 1.5 years old, running around your yard, blowing bubbles, and doing all the fun things that little toddlers do. But hey, y'all continue to support Alexi while acting heartbroken over the loss of your beloved baby Alex, because that makes sense.
Did you see this guy who went missing for filming a TikTok of this like mountain, and in the distance on top of the mountain you see this giant, like this huge creature walking on top of it? This is a real story. Yeah, it's real.
What?
So in this video, this guy named Luke Nichols was actually just driving on the road, and in the distance he sees this giant creature walking on top of the mountain. Like, it's huge, you could tell. And after he caught the giant, he went back 3 days later to the same location to see if he was there, and the giant was gone, showing that it was actually real, and it wasn't like some kind of structure or like a tree. There was actually someone there. So whatever this is, it must have moved. Yeah, and what's really scary is that people that live in the town have also said they've seen the giant, and they actually found in some caves in the area these drawings of the giant. There's drawings? Yeah, so Luke Nichols started trying to find this giant, and when he went back to the area, he saw a UFO in the sky, and he started filming it. But when he wanted to get closer to the UFO, all of a sudden this car started following him, and then he started making videos about how the CIA is trying to follow him. And what? Yeah, so he found something. That either he wasn't supposed to see, he was just making it up. I don't know. Dude, that's scary.
Believe that? You say you saw something, man. The CIA was following him? That wouldn't be the first time we heard something like that. So we gotta keep an open mind.
Scary Videos Part 9. Friends start playing with a Ouija board when all of a sudden this happens.
Oh my god! It's all
Did this man sell his soul to become a magician?
What the fuck?
Can you see the shadow? The shadow of your hands? Of my hands? Can you see the shadow? Look at that juicy chicken. A man's finger gets pulled back by something while he's holding a cat.
This video from March 2016 exposes
Dark magic?
Diddy beating up his ex-girlfriend Cassie, and after it became public, he's now apologizing.
It's so difficult to reflect on the
darkest times in your life, sometimes you gotta do that. I was fucked up. I mean, I hit rock bottom. But I make no excuses. My behavior in that video is inexcusable. I take full responsibility for my actions in that video. I'm disgusted. I was disgusted then when I did it, I'm disgusted now. I went and I sought out professional help. I had to go into therapy, going to rehab. I had to ask God for His mercy and grace. I'm so sorry. But I'm committed to be a better man each and every day. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm truly sorry.
This video shows Cassie trying to leave a hotel room they were staying at in LA after Diddy punched her in the face, giving her a black eye. When Cassie was almost at the elevator, Diddy noticed and went after her and attacked her. And let's not forget that before this video became public, Cassie and a few other women accused Diddy of abuse, but he denied everything and said that these women were only looking to get paid out. Now, the crazy part about this is that despite having this video as evidence, at this point, Diddy cannot be charged with any of this. The DA explained that their hands are tied due to the statute of limitations, meaning that since this attack happened in 2016, that was a long time ago, and legally, they can't prosecute Diddy. The infamous...
That Diddy and Cassie case that's going on right now. Well, yeah, that's going on with Diddy's crazy, man. Like, the evidence came out 4K. I remember when... I guess when Cassie and them came out, how people, at first, you know, they wanted hard evidence to come out. Now that's out, man, it was a domino effect. LeBron James unfollowed them, Steph Curry unfollowed them. It seemed like all the higher ups, man, I guess they like staying away from him now because he got caught, man. The evidence is in hand. People weren't believing Cassie, but now they did. But now they are. Goes to show you, man, and there's more stories that's like about Diddy coming out. I don't know what's gonna happen.
The girl in the box case has a scary new update. She was kidnapped and left in a box for 7 years, and the man responsible could be getting out of prison very shortly. It was the 1970s. 20-year-old Colleen Stan was planning on going from Oregon to California to attend a friend's birthday party, but that day her car didn't start. So she decided to hitchhike, which was a lot more common then than it is today in 2024. It was a long trip, but she hitched a ride from multiple cars and everything went smoothly, and it took her as far as they were going. Then a car full of rowdy young men pulled up next to Colleen and offered her a ride, and she just kind of got bad vibes and declined the ride. In the next car to pull up and offer Colleen a ride was a family. A young married couple and their little baby. What could be safer than that? So Colleen accepted and got in their car, and it would be a terrible mistake. Because that married couple was Cameron and Janice, and they had an agreement that Cameron could abduct and keep a young girl. Cameron kept Colleen in a box for years, only letting her out to cook or clean or be SA'd by him or be hurt. Pretty much just to fulfill all of Cameron's sick desires. Cameron was actually able to convince Colleen that a huge underground organization called The Company was behind all of this, and if she ever tried to leave, her and her family would get hurt, and that Colleen was essentially his property now. He had her completely brainwashed. Eventually, he even let Colleen call her family and took her to visit them, pretending to be her fiance. He would let her go jogging, work at a hotel, because he knew that he had complete control over her. And the wife, Janice, was already pretty jealous about how much time her husband was spending with Colleen. So when Cameron came to her and said, "Hey, I want to abduct more girls and keep more girls," Janice had enough. Janice went to Colleen and told her that the stuff about The Company was a total lie and actually let her escape after 7 years in captivity. And then she turned her husband in. This really pisses me off, but let me know your opinion. Investigators never charged Janice with anything because they saw her as a victim of Cameron's as well. But Cameron was found guilty and sentenced to 104 years in prison. But he's recently been fighting for his release. And in August of this year, so just a few months, he has a hearing. He's going to sit in front of a jury and try to show them that he's not a threat to society anymore. And if he does it successfully, he will be getting out of prison very, very shortly.
I don't know, man. That sounds like a dangerous man. I don't know if they should even try to let him out. The fact that the wife ain't getting no charges because she, I guess, got jealous. That's what made her step up and decide to stop that. Crazy ass case. If you guys stay with me to the end of the video, you're truth seekers seeking the truth. I greatly appreciate the support, man. Like I said, guys, make sure you guys hit that like button, man. Follow me on my social medias, man, so we can stay connected as a community. I really appreciate the support, man. We're doing these daily uploads. Hopefully you guys, man, enjoy them. I know I enjoy making these videos, man, just trying to get the truth out there. You guys gonna catch you in the next one, man. I'm out. Peace, YouTube.